Look, let's get into some of the best locations, and I'll just give a spoiler. I'll tell you my pick of the suburbs for each of these. So we'll start with one of my favourite areas, and that's the inner east of Melbourne. Look, the numbers in terms of rental yield aren't as strong, but if you're looking for something long-term and you only want to buy one property, this makes sense. Your inner east is historically an older money area of Melbourne. It's beautiful in terms of the greenery. So this is in Canterbury, this just photo. Look, my probably pick the inner east of Melbourne. Look, it is probably a hard toss-up, but it'd probably be Mont Albert North. It's very underpriced at the moment. You can pick it up for about $1.5 to $1.6 million, sometimes even cheaper if you're lucky. And I mean, it's surrounded by very historically, strong growth suburbs. It's done about 9.5 to 9.6% long-term, surrounded by great schools, great suburb in that. But that's my pick in the inner east. Let's get into one of my favourite locations. That's the inner west of Melbourne. Look, I've bought here a lot in the last 12 months, very, very strongly in the last 12 months. I mean, inner west is your old kind of like Bronx area of Melbourne. It was historically your area where a lot of your wharfies and your working class lived, but it's completely gentrified your inner west. When I mean inner west, I mean draw a line between pretty much Williamstown, then straight up to Braybrook, then connect it with Footscray, then draw a line straight back down to Williamstown. What is in that triangle suburbs, that's basically suburbs that are worth buying. Exclude Brooklyn from that. But look, the inner west here, you have great demographics. You actually got stronger demographics in some suburbs than even the inner east. My pick, I like to a lot of people have probably heard before, is Yarraville at the moment. Probably one of my favourite suburbs to buy, and it's fantastic in terms of buying. I've got properties that are literally 3.5 to 4% yield for almost a flat million. About 1 to 1.1 is realistic. Great area to buy. My favourite area in the whole country probably to buy at the moment, to be honest. That's my pick of the inner west. Bayside. Look, Bayside's probably the most beautiful pocket of Melbourne, in my opinion. I am a beach lover, so I do like it, despite it not having any proper beach with waves, but I'll get over it. This is just Brighton here, so you can see what it kind of looks like. That's just on the Golden Mile of Brighton, so the most expensive part of Brighton, basically. Look, if we're talking in terms of, what my pick of the the Bayside would be, it's a bit difficult because, I mean, you've got suburbs that over COVID, because of the lockdowns, that actually performed extremely well. But my pick probably in the Bayside would be somewhere, it'd be either Moorabbin or Hyatt. It'd be one of the two of them. So both are large blocks, both surrounded by great suburbs. Very good transport, very good access to other areas, good demographics, very owner-occupied. You'll generally get a block that's like 500 or 600 meters square that you can develop in the future as well. A bit better yield as well. Like I want to say Brighton East or Bentley, but the issue is in Hyatt and Moorabbin, you can sometimes get like 3.5 to 4% yield as well if you're lucky and you know what you're doing. So that's probably my pick in the Bayside. So it's a little bit lower risk as well, but a great suburb in Hyatt and Moorabbin in the Bayside. Let's get into the inner city. So look, this area really is, I mean, historically, again, you have a lot of your cottages. It's funny, the inner city, you've got both, your wealthier kind of suburbs, and you've also got your pockets that are a little bit dodgy. So funny enough, you got, your Alphington, Clifton Hill, that kind of area that, is quite wealthy and I'd say quite well off. But then you've also got your Collingwood, for example, that I'd say is a little bit dodgy in terms of, especially some pockets of it and some pockets of Richmond as well. But look, my pick in the inner city would be a suburb called Cremorne, and Cremorne's a tiny little suburb, and it's basically a suburb of the MCG. So, I mean, like you've got the second highest median income in Cremorne. I think it's nearly $3,000 a week, and your median monthly mortgage repayments are only $2,300 at the moment. So it's a suburb where everyone can easily afford their mortgage. It's probably one of the best suburbs in terms of your 30% rule in Melbourne, and probably even the country, to be honest. So that's my pick for the inner city in terms of suburbs in Melbourne. Look, probably one of the best historical areas as well is your inner east / southeast and south. Sorry, it's the inner south and southeast. So basically here, look, this area is pretty much your most livable and best area pretty much of all of Melbourne in terms of livability and your actual asset prices as well. This is home to pretty much anywhere from Malvern the whole way. If you draw a sort of circular line around to St Kilda and Port Melbourne, that's kind of the area I'm talking about. And you've got obviously your Chiracs, your Albert Parks. So your most expensive suburbs in Melbourne and your most expensive suburbs per square meter in Melbourne as well. So look, my pick here, it's very difficult actually to do though, because there's a lot of suburbs that I really like in this area that are, really, really good to buy. But my pick would probably be a suburb called Balaclava. And look, Balaclava it's not the balaclava you wear on your head. It's a suburb that's right next to St Kilda East. Look, the reason Balaclava is my pick here is because it's predominantly a Jewish Orthodox suburb. You got your synagogues, your yeshiva college very close to it. Jewish people generally first of all, generally only like investing in hard assets. So it's generally businesses and real estate they like investing. They're not huge stock kind of people or crypto people. That's what they invest in. And you'll find that the strict Jewish people, they won't actually use technology on, I think it's a Saturday or Sunday for every so many weeks per month, every certain week per month. Because I used to know someone who was very strict Jewish who lived in Coogee, in Sydney, who told me about it. But they generally like walking to their synagogues on those days of worship. They don't like using transport. So that's a reason there. And also Balaclava for a period of time in booms has 100% clearance rate. And that is crazy despite people sometimes even wanting 20% more than it's worth. There's times where Balaclava has 100% clearance rate, which is incredible. So that's my pick for the inner southeast and south in terms of Melbourne.